Hey, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Let me save you the "it's been a while" speech and just get right into it. Despite not making content lately, technology is still very much a forefront of my life and background, as in just been working on a lot of things. I've added a lot of stuff to this kind of home office slash studio in the year 2022 alone, and I'm really looking forward to taking all this to the next level. I got this space right before the pandemic, or at least expanded into this space before the pandemic, and really had aspirations to really kit it out and build it out and make it my own. And a big part of that was my computer that I had built when I was right at the start of the pandemic. It was actually 2020. You can see by the PC part picker list, I literally called it my 2020 quarantine build. About a month in, as the quarantine started, I decided, you know what, we're gonna be sheltered in place. I had some time on my hands. Might as well build a brand new workstation slash gaming PC. So I went with this AMD Ryzen 7 base build, 3700X, Corsair 800 H100i AIO, X570 AORS Elite, 32 gigs of Trident RAM, SSD from AData. I ended up going with a 2080 Super. I had originally had a 2060 Super in here, and I believe, and I ended up upgrading to the 2080 Super. I had a 2060, and then I went to a 2080 Super, actually. H710i NZXT case, and a Corsair 750 watt power supply to power all of that. So that was my build nearly 2 years ago. That video is on this channel, and it served me well. I'm actually on it right now. I've made some minor upgrades along the way, more RAM, a new AIO recently, the NZXT cooler, and now I'm going to be making the biggest upgrade to it, at least in recent time, and that is all thanks in part to this little guy, or big behemoth of a GPU. This is the 3080 Ti from Zotac Gaming. Very, very fortunate to get my hands on this today. Pick it up from a local store. Shout out to Central Computers in San Francisco, especially to all the employees who waited till after closing on a Friday afternoon for me to come and pick this up because I was running late. I decided, since I was upgrading to a much more beefier GPU, why not get a much more beefier power supply to power all of that up? So I got a Seasonic 1000 watt power supply. This is my first Seasonic, 80 plus gold certified, so excited to throw this in fully modular as well, which should help with the cable management. But yeah, really excited to upgrade my build and take it kind of to the next level. And it's in part because I've been, again, in aim to upgrade the space, have recently acquired an LG. This is the latest C1, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. OLED, the latest edition in their LG OLED lineup. This is the 42-inch OLED that I'm going to be using as a main display for my workstation, testing that out, and I figured if I need something to run at 4K, take advantage of all that resolution and the hertz, might as well upgrade the TV in the space. So with that, without further ado, let's jump right into the build log. I'm going to be upgrading my PC, my workstation today with the brand new 3080 Ti. Even just saying that is crazy, especially in this time and market. All right, let's jump right into it. So I figured we'd start with like a very informal unboxing, kind of take me back to my roots, and just kind of, get it out of here and showcase it in all its glory. So I'll be honest, I originally had my eyes on the EVGA, because I currently have an EVGA card, for the Win 3 edition, or the 3080 Ti. That purchase fell through with the individual I was trying to get that from. And I was able to get it from a local store that I have recently been shopping at quite a bit for like networking equipment, general stuff, and for our business. So in the pamphlet here, the first thing you get is the, looks like just extended warranty information. But yeah, was very fortunate to get this by literally at the last minute, checking that it was in stock and actually in store. I think they just had a recent restock. So it looks like you have your connectors here. So you have your splitter cables there for your pins, and then second pair, since this is going to require a lot of power and draw, and then you just pretty much straight up have it, the card, in all of its beefy glory. This thing is massive. So here it is, the Zotac Gaming 3080 Ti, massive, alongside my head for reference and scale here. And here, not that you would have one of these lying around, but I happen to have it in front of my desk, the iPhone first generation, literally the very first iPhone, side by side with the 3080 Ti. So yeah, this thing is massive. Triple fan, this again, the OC edition, 12 gigabytes of VRAM, 3 DisplayLink ports, or DisplayPort ports, I should say. And then you have a HDMI 2.1 on the very end there, which is going to be perfect for my LG OLED TV. And yeah, just a very, very beefy, simple card. Has some RGB on it, as you do. Nothing super crazy, but yeah. And then in here you have the GX 1000 watt power supply. Um, Again, you'll see this as it gets thrown into the build. All right, so we've got everything hooked up for the most part. Cable management isn't the greatest, especially on the top end there. Definitely will have to come back and clean that up. I do want to eventually for this build get like custom cables, especially with the full modular power supply. Get like proper straight 8-pin connectors here, clean them up, get some custom, cable mods and stuff like that to fit the theme. But for now, in terms of functionality, hopefully everything should work. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if I hooked everything back up correctly. Probably helps to turn on the power supply. 3, 2. Hello. Look at the clearance between the fan and the Elgato card. It's literally like barely enough. Yes, I'm aware the film is still on my LG OLED. I'm still debating if I'm going to be mounting this along the wall above my current setup here, or how I'm going to go about doing it, but until I make that call, I am leaving that on just in case. The GPU alone is nearly worth more than every other part combined, which is ridiculous. So I've installed Firestorm, which, not gonna lie, questionable interface. But here we have initial fan speeds, clock, memory clock, etc. And then looks like here on the advanced side you have the ability to do all the tweaking. I haven't honestly experimented much with like underclocking, overclocking, undervolting, all that fun stuff, but definitely would be open, and especially with a card like this, to explore everything that it has to offer. But for now I'm just going to leave it on the default kind of auto settings. And of course, gotta run my own benchmark. By that I mean launching the first games on it. As one does, of course. But here we are maxed out at 4K. Maximum settings. Steady 60 FPS, which Elden Ring is of course capped at. All right, and nearly 2 hours later, post-build, here we are with the recap. In terms of the actual build, everything went solid. Everything went fine. The GPU, PSU, all of that went good, booted. Funny enough, byproduct of all this upgrades, what actually ended up causing errors was my Elgato Cam Link. Turns out, because of the new graphics card, there's like a weird quirk with the PCI 4.0 device and USB. essentially what it came down to is I had to update my BIOS on my motherboard to the latest firmware or latest version, and that just resolved everything. So very weird, quirky issue, but I'll leave a link to that down below in case you have random issues with your Elgato Cam Link post new graphics card install. And with that, speaking of graphics cards, I have my RTX 2080 Super out now. This was a card that I upgraded from. Very, very cool looking card, and definitely was fortunate enough to get this at MSRP in the middle of the pandemic and the GPU craze. This is definitely going to be going to use in my other build and upgrade project. So kind of recycle this part and definitely put it into another build, and that'll be fun to utilize. I'm thinking for my like VR machine that we have in the living room right now. So yeah, looking forward to utilizing this elsewhere. Speaking of utilizing, I obviously got to do some initial tests with the 3080 Ti, but by initial test, I mean just my own like real world test of the games I'm currently playing. We're not talking like Nexus Gamer Nexus or LTT style of like benchmarks by any means, but I definitely will run those down the road just to kind of see where it lands, and look forward to kind of like tweaking it and adjusting it down the road. But right now I'm just kind of enjoying the out of the box experience, and the fact that I'm able to like smoothly play on my 4K OLED is just awesome. With that, in terms of the future for this build, in all honesty, I was like actually looking into potentially building a whole new computer as a whole for 2022, just for the sake of like trying something new, getting to experiment and start from scratch. And right now, the computer hardware market, the GPU is obviously the hardest thing to get. And I ultimately decided to just stick with my current build and just upgrade it over time. And so happened, timing wise, resource wise, I was fortunate enough to be able to scoop a 3080 Ti today, and decide to go all in with that upgrade. But down the road, some things I am exploring. I would love to get a new case down the road. I've been wanting to build in a different kind of form factor, potentially smaller, or even a new brand as a whole. I've been building NZXT cases for my last 3 builds. Might want to potentially explore what else is out there. I would love to, at that point, do the whole cable mods and custom stuff to really kind of bring the whole theme in together. And then from a performance perspective, at least with this specific build, at this point, the only thing I haven't upgraded from the original build 2 years ago was the CPU and the motherboard, which has never needed an upgrade at this point. Like I've never felt like it's been a bottleneck in terms of like the CPU performance and what have you. But who knows? Now with the beefier GPU and everything else in there, eventually that CPU will become a bottleneck. And at that point, when I decide to upgrade to I'm honestly probably going to stay team AMD at this point, just because they've been killing it in the CPU space. Go there, and at that point, having to do that, might as well go with a new motherboard, something with a little bit more bells and whistles and expansion. So yeah, that's kind of a down the road thing, but something I'm definitely looking forward to. Building PCs and kind of getting in touch with my roots when it comes to like technical stuff is always fun. It's always reinvigorating. It definitely, brings me back to what got me started here on YouTube. I remember admiring pre-builds back then, like 14, 15 years ago, thinking if I can just own an Alienware computer, how cool that would be. And we've definitely come a long way from those days. But these journeys and these build logs in general also kind of bring me back to just my aspiration and enjoyment of content, getting to share my passion for technology with you and not think too much about it, just kind of share the experience along the way. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you can look forward to some more videos and some other plans I have coming along the way to share with you all. So feel free to subscribe. I promise more content is coming, and this time I mean it. I know there's been a shortage in the last year. But with that, as always, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you all in the next one.